This past year has been one of the hardest that I've gone through in my sobriety. And so what I'm going to kind of try to focus on is, like dealing with life and being sober and getting through it, even when everything is falling in around me. My I was 19 when I got sober. And so, I got sober really young. And not only did I grow up in AA, but I grew up as a person because I was basically a kid when I got here. And so not only did I not really have life skills because I had been a drug addict and alcoholic, I didn't have life skills because I had no experience in life. And so the stuff that I learned in AA and from you guys. And I'm really grateful for that now. At the time, I think I was really angry about it, and I was really pissed off when I realized I was an alcoholic and that there was a solution, and I was never going to be able to drink normally again. But once the promises started coming true in my life, after I started working the steps and doing service and you know trusting God and trusting the process and living my life the way that God sees fit, everything just got easier. And I always say that, like, had I gotten here and somebody said, write down everything that you want to get from this program, and that's what you're going to get, I would have seriously shortchanged myself, because literally all the good things in my life that I have today are a direct result of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I can't imagine where I'd be without it. One of the first biggest turning points for me when life like really hit me and I was sober, was I was 9 years sober, and I got a divorce. And like, we were one of those AA couples, like we had like this is Annie and Jeff's event, and Annie and Jeff always do this thing. And, like, we got married at where his actual home group was. And, it was all people in AA. And so, like, like any relationship in AA, like, I immediately thought that everybody was going to have like all these opinions on it. And I very quickly started isolating and getting away from the program and getting away from all the things that I had done that kept me sober and kept me happy, not just sober, but for me, I don't ever want to just be sober. I want to be sober, happy, joyous, and free. And if I'm not all of those things, then something's lacking in my program. There's something I'm not doing, because I know that I can be all of those things at once now, and when I was new and in different periods of my sobriety, I haven't been all of those things. And it's because I was bulking somewhere. So I can remember going through this divorce and separating myself from AA. And I can vividly remember this night where I was laying on the floor of my bathroom and weeping and thinking that my entire life was over. And I was 9 years sober. And I think it was one of the first times that I had ever been sober in a really long time, and genuinely thought that getting drunk was going to be my only option then, because I was just like, everything's terrible. And, I quit going to meetings and I quit talking to people and I wasn't doing anything, and somehow I literally separated myself from AA for like 2 or 3 years. And I somehow stayed sober during that period. I have no idea how. I was completely isolated. My life was awful. And I hit a bottom with it, and I hit this horrible emotional bottom where I wanted to kill myself. And, at that point, I'm like 12 years sober, and I'm barely sober, I might as well have been drinking at this point. And so I finally had to basically humble myself and go to a meeting and say, look, like, it doesn't matter that I've been sober for this really long time. Like, I suck at this program right now and I'm doing nothing. I'm doing absolutely nothing to help myself. I'm certainly not doing anything to help anybody else. I'm not doing any service. I'm not working steps. I've not done any of these things for years. And basically I would pop into meetings just enough to like show face, you know, and I would see people, and my running thing was always, people would call me out on, they'd be like, oh, you know, Annie, I'm not seeing you in a while. And it's like, well, you know, there's like 150 meetings a week. I'm just not going to the same meetings as you are, you know, when in actuality, I just wasn't going to meetings, you know? And so I went to this meeting, and I can remember this meeting and just going there and saying, look, this is what I've been doing, and I basically need to start over, you know? And I changed everything. And it was almost like I was getting sober all over again. Cause I had to start all over from the beginning, you know? And that's when I got involved in ISCYPAA. Springfield didn't have a bid for a number of years. We've not hosted in over 30 years. And so I didn't know anything about ISCYPAA. And so there was a group of people here that had started a bid that year. And at first I was really hesitant to have anything to do with it. And I was just like, that's stupid. You know, like, I don't want anything to do with that. I've been sober for such and such amount of years, and I'm, you know, like, so important and know more than everybody, obviously, because my life's falling apart and I want to kill myself, and I'm 12 years sober. So, you know, for a while I didn't get involved, and eventually I like happened to go to this event, and I had a really good time. And then I just like happened to go to ISCYPAA 3 years ago, and I was like, this is like the coolest shit that I've ever been introduced to in AA, you know, like, these people are awesome. Like, these are my people, you know? And so I got involved in ISCYPAA, and I started working steps again, and I got a new sponsor, and I started doing all those things that I had done when I was new, you know, and for a number of years prior to that. And, you know, big surprise, my life changed, and I didn't want to kill myself anymore. And I didn't want to get drunk anymore, you know? And I started to become not just sober, but sober, happy, joyous, and free again, you know? And it was, that's what it all came down to for me, was just humbling myself and allowing myself to deal with that, you know? And in that process, like, I found that in that period where I wasn't doing working a program, but I wasn't drinking, you know, like, I did that same thing that so many of us do, that I like would fall back on other addictions. And for me, quite honestly, like, it can be anything, you know, and it was like, well, I'm not going to drink, but I'm going to start binge eating, you know, I'm not going to drink, but I'm going to start having random sex with all these weird people. And like, you know, like, it was just all this weird, unhealthy shit that like was trying to fill this void that I could have easily gotten had I just like gone to meetings and worked a program and done the next right thing, you know? And so like I hit this bottom, and then I hit a bottom physically, which was like this big eye opener for me. I was in really, really poor health, and I was severely morbidly obese. And you know, so like I changed everything, and I changed everything about my life, and I changed everything in my program, and things just got better and better and better. And it was like, it was so stupid that I was surprised about it, you know, but it was just like, it was just constantly, I was not seeing God working in my life anymore as these coincidences, you know, because when I'm trying to run shit, and when I'm trying to fix, manage, and control everything, like, those good things that are happening in my life, in my mind, either I've done that or it's a coincidence. You know, it's never that God is working in my life. It's never that, you know, I'm allowing him to do good things for me. Like, I never saw it that way. But I started to see that, and I started to see that, you know, I wasn't trying to run everything, and I was doing the next right thing. And so God was working for me, you know, and he was keeping me sober. And then, you know, this past year, like, over for the past few years since I've been involved in ISCYPAA and gotten involved in AA again, and, you know, started living my life the right way, you know, things were amazing. And at the beginning of this summer, I got fired. You know, I'm like, of no fault of my own, like, it was company stuff, but, you know, end of the day, I got fired. And so I lose my job. And then excuse me, I broke my leg like 3 weeks after I lose my job. And so then I can't work out. And like working out is like, it's a huge deal for me. Like it's my emotional, it's like meditation for me. And so that was really depressing. And then I got in 2 car accidents. And then, I'm chair for ISCYPAA. So like there's these people that depend on me to like have my shit together, and everything is awful, and there was like a little bit of drama with our committee, which big surprise, it's a bunch of alcoholics working together. And, it was just one thing after another, and it was horrible. And, there was all this drama with my kids and my ex-husband who drinks actively now. And, it was so strange because like in comparison to this past year of everything that went wrong for me, in comparison to that year that I got divorced, and it started this long downward spiral of everything falling apart for me, like the whole time that it was happening, I was 100% okay, which was insane. Like, and I would go to meetings and I would weep, which is really super weird for me. Anybody that knows me knows that I just don't cry. But I was crying a lot this summer. And, like I was scared, but at the same time, it was like this weird thing that was happening for me, that I had the same amount of fear and terror accompanied by this overwhelming sense and belief that it was going to be okay, because like I had gone through that and it was all right, so like at this point in my life now, I can look back at that situation and what happened to me at 9 years sober, of getting divorced and thinking that my life was falling apart, and the fact that I stayed sober through that and God took care of me. I certainly didn't take care of me, that no matter what happens in my life from here on out, like I'm going to be all right. As long as I don't try to take over, and as long as I do the next right thing, I'm going to be okay, and God's going to take care of me. And that's like the most amazing revelation that I should have had a very long time ago, but thank God, that I had it now. And now, like where I'm at in my life now, literally in the past 2 months, um, you know, I was patient and I waited, and I got this job that's like amazing, that I love, that like I look forward to going to every day, and I have all these other huge blessings in my life that have happened, and my kids didn't starve, and I wasn't out on the streets, and all those crazy things that I was just sure was going to happen. The bank was going to take my house away. Like, none of that stuff happened. Like I was all right. And I had all these people in the program that were there for me through all of it, and I had ISCYPAA, and like through being the chair of ISCYPAA, like something that like through all of it, I was just like, God, why do I have to deal with this? Like I have so much stuff in my life. The last thing I want to do is anything for anybody else, or, worry about this conference. That's this huge deal, like that was a huge part of what kept me sober and kept me with that, conscious contact with God through all of it, because like I was accountable to these people. And that's why service is so important to me, like because it's not just about me, it's I'm accountable to these other people, and for some reason that makes me more willing to do it, um but I don't know, like after being sober for a long period of time, like you get to this point where, at least I do, I got to this point where it was like, this is where I'm supposed to be at this many years, like, and this is where I'm supposed to be, or this is what my life is supposed to look like, or these are the things that I'm supposed to say in meetings, and I should be sponsoring X amount of women, and, whatever the case may be. Like, and once I finally realized that, like, I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, you know and quite honestly, I'm of the belief that that number that's on my coin just doesn't mean anything, aside from the fact that that's how many days I've not drank, because I can be just as miserable at 16 years sober now as I was at 16 days sober. It's all about what kind of program I'm working. And I'm really grateful for that knowledge today. And I wouldn't have it if I hadn't gone through some really awful shit, And so I'm really grateful for all those awful things that I went through too, you know, because I'm not going to allow myself today to, you know, have outside things take away my ability to be sober, happy, joyous, and free. So that's all I've got.